because we love the land.
The ecology of the grasslands supports all of the different species that live here.
Those species above ground allow our grazing animals to graze year-round. It also provides for wildlife habitat. It provides for pollinator habitat. But also there's biodiversity below ground. All of those different types of roots attract different types of animals below the soil.
You have to have the diversity of all those plants together, working together underground to feed themselves and feed each other, and the microbes and all the bacteria that's in the ground. It has to have those plants working together.
It also is a major watershed.
You know, it's kind of like the lungs of the world.
Unless it's healthy, you're not going to have as many different species, and they're not going to be as healthy.
The National Grazing Lands Coalition stands alone as an organization of people who come together because of their love of the resource.
There's not another organization like GLC that's producer-led. The peer review part of the science from producers, actually implementing on the ground, and the dissemination of that science to the producer is unique and vital.
Soil health and regenerative agriculture, it's a journey. The great thing about the regenerative agriculture community, it's a really positive culture that's paying knowledge forward.
Being able to have those people that you can call, bounce ideas off from, and encourage each other, kind of work through and learn from it.
Some people like to go hunting. Some people like to ride their Harley Davidson. Some people like to go to the theater. Some people love ranching.
Really wanted to make money, ranching is like the poorest choice of career. I do this because it's very fulfilling to me to know that the grass that I grow is pretty outstanding, and the beef that eats my grass is the highest quality beef that I can put out on this ranch.
I heard somebody say something once, and they said, the wealth of a nation lies in the health of its soil, simply because soil health is a primary barrier between a nation and starvation.
It's the foundation of the whole ecosystem.
Soil is probably one of the most undervalued assets in culture today.
Soil health kind of starts with the biology, and without a grazing animal in that system, you're not going to be able to complete a lot of those loops and those cycles.
I graze this pasture 2 times through the year, but when I am approaching the fall and I'm trying to prepare for my winter stockpile, I'll remove the cattle. I won't graze it from about, say, end of July.
Heavy rotational grazing. It's just a linchpin that helps me accomplish all of my goals economically and environmentally.
If you know how big your cows are, you know how much your cows need to eat. You know how much forage, you know your forage demand. You match your forage demand to your consumption for that day, and you fence them in a paddock that's just big enough to give them everything they need to eat for that day.
It is the same as me being able to lease 2 more pastures of the size that I already have leased.
By having this diverse, ground-covered, soil-covered environment, we're able to take carbon and put it back into the ground where it does work.
That benefits everybody on this planet.
What we're seeing is an effort not only to grow more food for our globe, but we're also trying to clean it up.
The goal is to try to leave it better than it was.
You know, we really believe in being good stewards to the land and having something that everybody can be proud of.
That's what I love about the National Grazing Land Coalition, is a community of people, primarily producers, that have such a passion for the land they own and maintain it, care for it.
And that is our mission, is improve the land, improve education about the land, and improve the way we're managing the land, and improve the benefit that consumers create by eating a beef product that goes back to positive improvement of the land, and making that connection with the consumer.
Well, good morning. Welcome everyone back. Wow, what a day yesterday. I hope everybody had the same experience. I know for one, I'm glad that all these sessions are being recorded, all these talks are being recorded, and I'm going to have the opportunity to go back. There are several that I saw yesterday I wish could have lasted a couple hours, and then there's several that I wanted to see that I couldn't. It's great to have all these talks and great to have the opportunity to go back and see them. So I encourage everybody to do that, and you'll have the opportunity with your paid registration to have access to all these recorded videos. So a few housekeeping items this morning. I don't know how many people caught it, but we had two different times in our agenda here for the opening session. We caught it this morning. We had a little bit of a misprint. One place said 8 and another place said 8:30. So if you're like me, I was ready to go at 8:30. I think most of us were. So this is going to go to 10. This is a very important session, and we need to have our full hour and a half here. So we're going to go to 10. So as soon as we're done with this, if everybody grab the refreshment and go ahead and head to our breakout sessions, we will try to maybe start those about 5 minutes late. Moderators, let's give a little bit of time. We'll have 5 minutes that we can take up a little bit in the next break. But that way everybody will be able to have their time and get their message out, and this session and our other breakout sessions. And then one other, if you will look in your agenda, there is one workshop. It's the first one listed from 1 to 2:30. That is in the wrong spot. It is the workshop in the Windsor, BC Ballroom. Good pasture management leads to good soil health. That is actually taking place from 10 to 11:30, so before lunch. So everybody make note of that. If you want to go see that one is from 10 to 11. So directly after this plenary session, that we will start that one. So this morning we're going to hear from a few individuals who are not afraid to share some of the most vulnerable times in their lives. And the goal of this talk today is not to discourage or upset anyone, but to hopefully give you hope. Dr. Kate Jones Hazeldine, PhD, is a clinical psychologist from Rushville, Nebraska, who returned home 17 years ago to provide services in the Panhandle and the Sandhills areas of that state. She currently owns Western Nebraska Behavioral Health Clinics with 8 different services. Dr. Kate, we'd like to welcome you to the mic.
Thank you. I'm pleased to introduce first Jessica Peters. Jessica is a 5th-generation dairy farmer from Pennsylvania, where she owns and operates Spruce Row Farms with her parents and her brother. Jessica is also an avid advocate for agriculture. She's written 2 children's books and shares social media about her life on the farm. For the last few years, Jessica has been using her online presence to bring a light to the mental health struggles within agriculture. Through sharing her own story with mental health and her new project called Secrets of Ag, she is hoping to help lessen the stigma around talking about mental health issues. Secrets of Ag is an anonymous website where others can go to type out their worries, their struggles, and their secrets without consequence of being judged. Jess then periodically shares them on her social media channels to show people that they're not alone in their struggles. Please welcome Jessica Peters.
Good morning. It's 8:30 in the morning, and we're going to talk about mental health, which it seems probably a little early in the day to talk about something so heavy, but I would argue that this is a pretty heavy topic to talk about any time of the day. But it's also a really important one, and it's one that we can't keep ignoring, to be honest. What we do in agriculture is hard. We're not only dealing with what everyone else in the world deals with the politics and the pandemic and the mass shootings, we're also dealing with farming and cows and equipment and weather and environmental regulations and all the things that we can't control. Sometimes that makes what we do impossible. And I can almost guarantee that every person in this room at some point in the last year has struggled mentally. Some of us more than others. But we don't talk about it, do we? It's really hard to talk about. If you were to start a conversation at your table right now, the person across from you might mention that last winter they slipped on ice and broke their leg. Maybe the person next to you will talk about their high blood pressure. Maybe someone will talk about their cancer diagnosis and or treatment. But I can almost guarantee that no one at that table is going to tell you, hi, I'm severely depressed and I don't know what to do about it. Because it's going to make you super uncomfortable. And we're taught from a really young age to be polite, and making people uncomfortable isn't polite. So I'm going to start that conversation. I have been depressed for over half of my life. It started back in high school. I can't pinpoint a moment or an event. I can go into excruciating detail about all the feelings and the emotions that come with it. I can tell you it's crazy confusing for even me going through it. And I can unfortunately also tell you it's a really short journey from I'm feeling sad and having a really bad year to the world would be a better place without me. It's a scary, dark journey, but it's surprisingly short. I can also tell you that, first of all, I'm not a professional. Everything I'm going to talk about are things I've been through and my opinions and what have helped me. But the thing that has helped me the most is talking about it. Getting to that point to start talking about it is really hard to do because it's a very vulnerable thing. And like I said, it makes others uncomfortable. My journey with talking about it started with a video I called Dear Struggling Farmer. I made it about 3 or 4 years ago, I think. My chronological timeline is awful, so I'm going to go with 4 years, and you're just going to believe me. And it just talked about how hard it was to be a farmer. One thing goes wrong, and then 1,000 things go wrong, and you feel like you're completely alone. You can't talk about it because we're farmers. We're the strong, tough ones, right? They're our problems, not the world's. And at the end of that video, I said 2 words that changed my life. Find me. I told people to find me. I made it clear, and they knew too, that I couldn't fix their problems, but I could listen, and I could understand because I was going through the same thing. Tens of thousands of people found me. That video had hundreds of thousands of views. I spent the next 6 months opening messages every single day from people saying, I didn't know I was feeling this until I saw you say it, or I was feeling this but couldn't put it into words until I watched your video. One woman really stuck with me. She said, for 5 minutes, I watched your video and just sobbed, but I could also breathe for the first time in a year because somebody saw me. Somebody understood. And she said, then I dried my eyes and I went back to work because that's what we do. We go back to work no matter how we're feeling, right? The second push into talking about mental health for me was an article I wrote a few months later. A farmer in my region had killed himself. I didn't know him personally, but I knew people who had. And it really stuck with me. And a few days later, I sat down on my computer and just started writing. And in 20 minutes, I'd written 1,000 words about how it felt to be depressed. The day that article was published, it came out online and in print. And the day that article was published, I ran away. I turned off my phone. I hid all electronics because I was afraid of what people would say. Not to sound conceited, but more than one person at more than one time in my life has called me the life of the party. To admit to something that vulnerable and scary was terrifying to me. You know, there are people that were very close to me that had no idea I had gone through any of that. What I found when I finally turned my phone back on was how many people I would not have imagined had been through the same exact thing. That me being vulnerable and putting myself out there made them able to do the same thing. And that is an amazing feeling, to not feel like you're alone. And that's part of the problem with mental health is because it's uncomfortable to talk about, we don't talk about it, so we feel like we're completely alone. Those 2 projects were the moments I knew that with the video, 1, that mental health was a problem in agriculture, and 2, that I could be the person to talk about mental health in agriculture, which were 2 big revelations for me. And it's all morphed into what I do now, which is talk about my personal experiences with depression online, on specifically my Instagram or Facebook. And it's been really good, actually. It's kind of like free therapy for me. I talk out loud and people listen for the most part. And it's also been really cool to hear their stories back. You know, even, like I said, mental health makes you feel like you're really alone in the world because we don't talk about it. And I get messages constantly, every time I share something, of someone saying, I felt that exact same way. Maybe we got there from different experiences and different issues and events, but the feelings are the same. What you're feeling, someone else in the world has felt it, I promise you. They just don't tell you that. So to have people tell me that they, at least even one person understands what they're going through, is an amazing thing, which led me to my project, Secrets of Ag. It is what it sounds like. I ask people to send me their secrets. I based it off of a larger community project called Post Secret from a man named Frank Warren. He started his in 2005. I started mine about 2 years ago. And I just set up an anonymous form online. The only question is, what is your secret? I don't need to know your name. I don't need your contact information. I don't need to do anything but what you want to send me. Taking away, I never get this word right, giving people the anonymity, did I say that right? Also takes away the consequence of what they're going to say, and it makes people amazingly honest. I have gathered almost 500 secrets in the last 2 years. A lot of them are similar, and yet they're all completely unique. The way people word the things they say, you can really feel their pain, and you can feel that they needed this unburdening of whatever is on their heart and on their minds. And that's what this started out for me. It started out a way for people who weren't brave enough to say it out loud, because it's terrifying to say it out loud and own it. It gave them a place to do that, to let the weight off their shoulders for a little while. So I have a few secrets here I want to read to you. What I do is I read through the secrets, and I started out every Monday, I'd reshare one. And I make it clear that unless you state otherwise, I'm going to reshare your secret in some way or form. By submitting the secret, you give me your permission. And as I reshare them, I kind of give my perspective, and I ask people to comment on them and leave their support and their encouragement. I make it clear that it's a safe space. I will delete any rude comments, because that's not what this project is about. Judgment is not what this project is about. It's about relieving people's secrets and burdens. This was the first secret I shared, and I shared it because when I read it, every time I read through the new secrets, I find myself by the end of it just basically silently sobbing. It's hard not to. Every time I read one, you kind of take on a little bit of that burden for yourself, which is the point. You're relieving it from the person who left it. This one hits way too close to home as a dairy farmer. 10 hours a day I spend doing the same thing every single day, which is weird because also as a farmer, one of my favorite things is that we do something different every single day. But for 10 hours, I'm feeding cows, milking calves, doing the same thing. And this secret, I've felt this. Every night, after 2 shifts of milking and 2 shifts of feeding calves, I stumble into my house, put my dirty clothes in the washer, then I shower. After the shower, I sit down, I take my nightly pills. I wonder, if I take enough of these and a few of those, would it kill me so I don't have to do it all over again tomorrow? I just want out. I can't keep doing what I do every day, nor do I want to. Saturday night, I milked cows, and I finished at 1 a.m. You go in, you grab something to eat, you have to sit and watch TV for half an hour because it's been a really long day. I've got to get up and do it again at 6. Some days it's really hard to get up and do that again. Some days it's really hard to go to bed knowing you have to get up and do that again. I've had variations of that secret written in all different ways, and that one really stuck with me. I don't know how much time I have. I have a couple more. This secret I get from a lot of young people. As a millennial in the generation that's taking over the farms, it's really hard to possibly know that that's not what you want, but to just give that up on a generational farm. And this person said, I feel guilty that I'll be the very first generation not to take over the farm. My dad's family has farmed in the area since the early 1800s. It ends with me. After I posted that, I got so many comments and messages from people that the person who sent that secret personally messaged me I've had quite a few people whose secrets I've posted eventually come forward and tell me who they are and thank me. And the comments and the support from the people on that post on Instagram really changed this person's life. They were so stressed and so depressed and worried over the fact that their generational farm was ending with them that they couldn't see past that to what they wanted to be and what they wanted to do. They knew they didn't want to do this. And I think we can all agree that this agriculture farming is hard enough that if you don't truly love it, it's going to kill you. It kind of does anyway, doesn't it? To get that feedback back that just by unburdening themselves and seeing all of the anonymous support from people, farmers who are still farming, have been farming their whole lives saying, I didn't want to do this either, get out while you can. Or from people saying, I love farming, I love what I do, but if you don't love it, find something else. Eventually your family will understand. Really help this person move on from that. This next one, it was one of the first 5 secrets I got, and it really took me back. It's not exactly sad, but it really made me think. And it goes, I'm tired of defending an industry that always screams at me as their field rep. I don't make milk price, and I'm trying to spread the good you all do. Back off. And back off, I see some people smiling. Back off was written in capital letters. I read that, and I sat back in my chair for a good 10 minutes, and I was like, huh. As a dairy farmer, I know we kind of feel like we're at the bottom of the pile. Like we're the victim of the victims. You can't help it. It's all piled on us. We're where it starts, but it also feels like we don't get any of that benefit, right? So who do we complain to? The next person up. The guy who sells us the semen. The guy who sells the dairy products. It's not their fault either. They're part of that chain of victims, but we tend to unload on them. And we tend to forget that we're not the only ones who are stressed and depressed about the way our industry is going. When I reposted that secret, I got a lot of other farmers who were like, well, crap, that's what I do too. And that's something that I didn't expect from this project. It's changing people's perspectives. I never would have thought of that, honestly. Or I like to think I would have gotten there eventually, but to have it in such blunt words from someone who's living through it really drove the point home. And the last secret I'm going to read has always stuck with me, and specifically a comment I got after I posted it. The world is not black and white. We can say that all we want, but I don't think we truly understand it until it's put in front of us and we see the gray. You'll see what I mean as I read this secret. So this one goes, I cheat on my wife because I can't stand our marriage, but I love our kids. I feel so beat down by her and the fact that I rarely ever meet her expectations regardless of my effort. It crushes my soul, and I hate myself for it. I try to numb my pain with alcohol, but that never works. Cheating is bad. I feel like we all agree on that. I had a friend send me a message afterward, and she said, I really hate this project of yours because it's making me change my mind. I agree that cheating is bad. We all do. But we tend to put all of the blame on the cheater and don't think about what led them to it. He didn't choose drugs or, technically alcohol or a dozen of other vices he could have to numb his pain. He's cheating, which isn't right, and he knows it. But I just felt like the way he worded it, you feel bad for him, don't you? I mean, we don't know what the wife's going through. There's 2 or 3 sides to every single story, but so much gray in the world. This project has completely, I'll admit, changed my life. I was on a podcast once, and they kind of blindsided me. I don't know if you've ever heard of a sin eater. They're mythological creatures or something, I'm not sure, that they take on, it's kind of like the movie The Green Mile. The prisoner takes on people's pain and their disease, and then he, processes it, lets it out. I feel like I'm a secret eater. Every time I read one of these secrets, I take on that person's pain just a little bit more. So I'm a little ashamed to admit that I haven't been resharing secrets for the last few months because I've learned that I also have to take care of myself and my own mental health. I can't keep taking it all in and not ever let it out, but it seemed like a way to give people in an isolating industry, it was a good way to give them a place to unburden. Because, oh, that was the title slide. Secrets lose their power when they aren't secrets anymore. I can't tell you how good it feels to talk about when you're struggling. As a person who, in my depression, I will say it manifests itself as, I think I'm a burden to everyone. I don't truly understand why. I could literally meet you after this, and for some reason my head will manufacture a way that I'm a burden to you, even if you approach me. It's convoluted and stupid, but it's where my mind goes. But by sharing your burden just this much, it can free up so much healing. And the feeling is amazing. My favorite thing about everything I've done is making people feel less alone and a little more understood. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen the show Ted Lasso. I got bronchitis a few weeks ago and was out of work for a few days, and I binge watched it. You should, it's a great show. My favorite quote from that show is, there is something worse out there than being sad, and that is being alone and being sad. By sharing your burden with someone else, you take a little of that sadness away too, and you take a whole lot of that aloneness away. My hope for everyone in this room, when you walk away from what I've said, and Ryan and Terry, is that you find someone to struggle with. That sounds awful, but just by unburdening yourself a tiny bit, it's not putting that much on them, and it's the beginning to the road to healing. We're all struggling in one way or another. I don't see why we can't struggle together. Thank you.